The busy Enugu household. 2 weeks before Christmas, Mr. John's house in Enugu buzzed like a marketplace. Children dashed around, thrilled about visiting the village for the holidays. His wife, U, tried to keep everything under control, packing bags with clothes and homemade snacks. She was a faithful woman who believed strongly in prayer, but her husband shrugged off her concerns. "God knows I'm traveling. I don't need to keep reminding him," Mr. John would say. You wished he'd at least join her in a quick prayer for their safety, but he refused. The old woman's warning. One evening, Mr. John was driving home from work when he noticed an elderly woman flagging him down by the roadside. Kind-hearted, he stopped and offered her a lift. Once seated, she spoke in a low, urgent tone. "My son, don't travel to your village this Christmas. If you must go, you and your family must pray and fast. There is danger ahead." Mr. John laughed it off. "Mama, I've driven this route every year. Nothing will happen." The old woman simply repeated her warning before getting out. Though unnerved, Mr. John tried to forget it. Mama Amaka's plan. Far away in the village of Agonese, Mr. John's stepmother, Mama Amaka, simmered with jealousy. Every December, John arrived with plenty of gifts, overshadowing her own children's modest means. This time, she vowed to end his arrogance and consulted with a group of local witches. At a secret clearing in the forest, they chanted curses over a scrap of John's shirt. "He will not reach the village alive," the witch leader declared. Mama Amaka returned home, certain her plan would ensure John's downfall. Car trouble. Back in Enugu, just 2 days before Christmas, Mr. John's car unexpectedly broke down. The mechanic shook his head in disbelief at the severe engine damage. Yu saw this as a sign they shouldn't go, but John insisted otherwise. Rather than cancel the trip, he bought tickets for a commercial bus. Yu prayed quietly, worried by both the old woman's warning and her husband's stubbornness. The fateful bus ride. The morning of their departure arrived. At the bustling motor park, Yu stood in the crowded bus and gently asked if everyone could join in a short prayer. Some passengers mumbled amen, while Mr. John blushed in embarrassment. Soon the bus roared to life, carrying them out of Enugu along dusty roads. Halfway to the village, the driver's panicked voice rang out. "The brakes, they're gone." Passengers screamed as the bus careened downhill, swerving dangerously. A massive tanker appeared ahead, and with a thunderous crash, the bus collided. Metal crumpled, glass shattered, and all went dark. A miraculous survival. When rescuers arrived, they found a baffling scene. Yu and the children, though frightened, emerged with barely a scratch. Mr. John, seated closer to the front, was severely injured. In the hospital, doctors were forced to amputate his legs. He awoke to see his wife and children unharmed, tears streaming down his face. An unlikely visitor appeared at his bedside, the old woman he had given a ride. She shook her head sympathetically. "If not for your wife's prayers, you would all have perished," she said. Shaken to his core, Mr. John realized his folly. He clung to his family, grateful they were still alive. Mama Amaka's hollow victory. In Aguneze, Mama Amaka pretended to cry upon hearing the news. She'd wanted John's entire family wiped out. Though she learned his legs were gone, something in her heart twisted with guilt. Part of her had wished them all dead. At night, she found no peace, haunted by nightmares and the knowledge she'd participated in something truly evil. A new man. Mr. John, now in a wheelchair, spent months recovering physically and spiritually. Overwhelmed by gratitude, he became the first in the family to kneel in prayer each morning. He recognized that U's steadfast faith had shielded them when his own pride had opened the door to tragedy. For 2 years, the family avoided traveling to the village at Christmas. Too many painful memories. But eventually, an illness forced Mr. John to make the journey to see Mama Amaka. He arrived in a hired van, children in tow, every moment spent in prayer. Villagers gawked at the changed man. No longer swaggering, he humbly thanked everyone for their concern. Reconciliation. Mama Amaka lay on a thin mat, frail and sick. She trembled when she saw Mr. John's missing legs, overcome by regret. My son, I'm sorry, she managed, tears brimming. Unaware of her exact role in his accident, Mr. John simply forgave her. He reached for her hand, urging her to rest. The bitterness that had poisoned her heart began to melt away, replaced by silent remorse. That Christmas was quieter than ever in Agunese. No show of wealth, no flamboyant celebrations, just a family brought low by tragedy, but lifted by grace. Mr. John and Ewe prayed together under a sprawling mango tree, children joining them. Villagers who once envied them now saw only humility and gratitude. Lessons. Word of Mr. John's ordeal spread. People spoke of how envy nearly destroyed a family, and how unwavering prayer rescued them from the jaws of death. Some said an angelic old woman had warned John. Others believed it was all coincidence. But everyone agreed on one thing: pride and jealousy can lead to ruin, while faith and forgiveness bring the only real peace. Even as years passed, the memory of that Christmas stayed fresh, a reminder that hidden curses can lurk anywhere, and that the quiet strength of a praying heart may be the greatest shield of all.